second what Susan said about how much you all you friends and cousins that are here really shored us up and helped us find laughter in these last few very tough years, and in part because so many of us are going through the same things. So I feel like we've all been in this together, and I love you all. But rather than talk about the end of Dad's life that lasted so many years, I want to think back to the Richard that we knew as a young man, a middle-aged man, and a vibrant old guy. Dad doted on us when we were children. I think he was a more involved dad than most in the 50s and 60s. He didn't do housework or cook, but he was always home. He helped with homework, took us on outings, encouraged our interests. I think Susan, Will, and I grew up thinking we could do anything in part because of his encouragement. Since Mom was an only child, Dad gave us our only wonderful relatives, some of whom are here today. I grew up feeling close to both of Dad's siblings, my Aunt Grace and Uncle Mort, who we all miss dearly, along with Grace's husband, my Uncle Mike. I am still blessed to have a wonderful relationship with our dear Aunt Edie, aged 95. She couldn't travel to be here from LA today, but we know that she's here in spirit. The family of Gaineses and Jacobs gave me my Jewish identity. How about those Jewish Christmases that Aunt Edie had featuring Christmas trees, lox, and bacon? The dad I remember is the guy who took us camping every summer, waking us before dawn to drive to the Sierras with pancakes along the way. Remember when you could just show up in Yosemite Valley and find a campsite, and when children could wander at will? I remember floating down the Merced on rubber rafts, fishing, roasting marshmallows until they were burnt. I remember weekend outings to Zuma Beach and fireworks at Sepulveda Park. He's the guy who inspired us to love music, taking us to the symphony and to see Pete Seeger, playing calypso and big band music and Joan Baez. He's the guy who loved Shakespeare, who quoted Hamlet and took Mom to Ashland every summer. He's probably the first person to inspire my love of theater, talking about plays and taking me to Berkeley Rap when I was very young. Dad loved American history and politics and was a devoted Democrat from the days of Adlai Stevenson. He was still working through Robert Caro's biography of LBJ when he moved to assisted living a few years ago. And boy, was he opinionated, which was tough, especially when I was a teenager and he criticized my admittedly adolescent choices. Remember the 60s? However, and with more lasting effect, Dad modeled for me how to use the power of opinions. He never held back from expressing himself where it really mattered and made a real difference in many areas that affect us all. Remember the smog in LA in the 60s? Our air is cleaner all over in California, in part because of Dad's efforts. Before we talked about climate change, he was an early advocate of alternative energy, serving as Jerry Brown's first solar project manager in the 70s. He contributed to California coastal protections and preservation of Yosemite Valley. I had left home by then, but when Mom and Dad lived in Los Gatos, he was active in town planning issues and even ran for town council. Living in Windsor during retirement, Dad jumped right into local planning issues. And Dad never slowed down with his opinions. In retirement, this manifested in a constant outflow of letters to the editor, correspondence with his elected representatives, and I still get stuff from every Democratic candidate in the entire United States. And participation in local issues meetings. I inherited his lifelong habit of writing pointed letters to the editor, and I guess now Patrick has also taken up the mission. It was really fun to watch Dad revel in his grandchildren, Patrick and Brendan, when they were small. He'd get right down with them on the floor or up on the playground slide. and they thought he and his big nose and booming voice were really hilarious. As a child, I couldn't tell how much Dad loved our mom. In retirement, as they spent more and more time together, it became clear how much he doted on her. They enjoyed many years of travel, weekends at Asilomar, the Ahwahnee, visits to Mammoth with Uncle Mort and family, season tickets to Berkeley Rep, and trips to Ashland, square dancing, bridge, and general enjoyment of wine country and the Pacific Coast. Susan, Will, and I were fortunate to have grown up in California during prosperous times with parents who nurtured our true selves and supported our choices. My Southern California childhood was blessed, even though I couldn't wait to leave. I had family nearby, good public schools, and the beach. I was sheltered from any financial or relationship challenges our parents may have experienced. In closing, I will share a poem from one of Dad's most cherished authors, E.B. White. This is what youth must figure out: girls, love, and living. The having and the not having. The spending and giving. And the melancholy time of not knowing. This is what age must learn about: the ABC of dying, the going yet not going, the loving and leaving, and the unbearable knowing and knowing.